Hello, everybody. Good data morning to you, and welcome on the Good Data Morning Show, wherever you are. We're very, very excited to have you here. Regardless what the weather is where you are, it is raining here, but we're so happy that no matter what, we're striving for good data, regardless if it's morning, afternoon, evening. Do let us know where you are from. What is the time where you are? What's the weather like? Please let it come in. We have a very special guest with us today, Tom Redman, that Diana will introduce shortly. But I just want to give you this one tiny bit of information, the fact that we're going to talk and address data quality and all things about data quality and how you can calculate data quality, its cost to the organization, really what is its importance. I think, and I hope that we all know how important data quality is. And we're also going to talk to Tom about all matter of things about data quality because he is, at least in my eyes, the expert, the sole expert, the data doc when it comes to data quality and much more. So, Diana, would you like to do the honors and introduce Dr. Tom Redman?
Yes, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Tom Redman, as you mentioned, the data doc. I think this is a very, very appropriate name for Dr. Redman. He's the president of Data Quality Solutions. He helps startups and multinationals and data professionals like senior executives and chief data officers and leaders to, I quote, which is beautifully expressed, chart their courses to data-driven futures with special emphasis on data quality and analytics. Dr. Redman has published a lot of amazing articles in very famous publications such as the Harvard Business Review. So he's really an authority when it comes to data quality, and we cannot wait to hear what he has to share today and the practical tips that he's going to give us.
And I gotta say, I do quote him quite often in my posts and articles too.
No wonder. He has a PhD in statistics and has already 2 patents. So everyone, please welcome Dr. Tom Redman.
Hello, Tom.
Yeah, good morning, Deanna. Good morning, George. Thank you for the kind words.
Tell us where are you streaming from right now?
I'm on the Jersey Shore, and it is a perfect fall day here.
Oh, that's beautiful. And you know what? We do have people from all over the world joining in, from the UK. I believe this is New York, but Eileen, correct me if I'm wrong, from Iran, from New Jersey, so very close, from Denver, from non-rainy Scotland. Well, that's a first. We have some fellow Canadians as well. Hi, Catherine. Very nice for you to join. And Gabriela. Hi. India, of course. We have Romania. Hello, fellow Romanian. Hello, everybody. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. There's a lot of you here. I can't put all the comments up, but thank you so much for joining in. So, Tom, data quality. I know it's a broad topic, and really, again, as I mentioned, you're quite the expert. You're quite the data doc in this domain, and a lot of people look up to you for your learnings and teachings, and you know what, we do appreciate it. I do want to mention just one thing before we get into it all, but the fact that, where are you? All right. This one book, I think this is one of your latest book, Getting in Front of Data, Who Does What? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that, George. Thank you for the question. The basic idea in data quality, we have a lot of methodologies, we have a lot of tools, we have a lot of framework. We have very much less on who specifically is responsible for doing what work. And we don't, there's just not enough out there. One of the things that we found very, very early on is there's 2 very fundamental roles that everybody who touches data plays, and often in the same instant, but they're data customers and using data that has been provided by others. And they're also they're data creators, and they are creating stuff that is passed to the next man, woman, process, application, whatever it is in line. And these roles are fundamental. right? And so it's really important that organizations, as they build their data programs, they help people recognize these fundamental roles and take up these fundamental roles. And so getting in front on data was really goes into the importance of those roles, what people need to do to take them up. And then the skinniest possible bureaucracy that an organization has to put in place to help people be effective in those roles.
Beautiful. Like you said, thank you. And I haven't read this one yet, and you do have many other books that you've written, and this is one that I need to add to my list.
Absolutely. Tom, one of the things that I really loved from when I was reading your work are the very concrete tips for people. And one of them was the Friday afternoon measurements. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'll be happy to do that. That's a great question, Deanna. I mean, look, the first question everybody has is data quality a problem? And so how would you know? And so, I developed this little technique in response to that. It sort of starts with the rather obvious observation that you have a quality problem if bad data or a lack of data, impacts your work. And the Friday afternoon measurement really aims at getting at this. And it's an alternative. The alternative is you go out and you buy a tool and you code up a bunch of business rules and you smack your data against the business rules. But the Friday afternoon measurement is aimed, as the name implies, to be something that you literally can do in a Friday afternoon. Would you like me to explain a little bit how it works?
Oh,
yes,
that would be
please.
Perfect. Yes, I think everybody will really benefit from that.
Yep, sure. So I mean, look, we have a video on this, so I'll just kind of hit a highlight. But the basic idea is whatever you do, right? And say you may renew software licenses, or you may sign up customers, or you may you may sequence genes, but look at the data as you're using it. And so what I ask people to do is take the last 100 replicates, the last 100 times they did their job, and look at, say, the 10 or the 15 most important attributes, right? And just fill out a spreadsheet. So down, the rows are labeled, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 100, and the columns are labeled attribute 1, name, attribute 2, telephone number, attribute 3, and so on and so forth. And just lay that out. And then on Friday afternoon, get a little team together, so people who understand the data, and give everybody a red pen, right? And work line by line and just X everything that is obviously wrong. And it turns out the human eye is really good at spotting errors. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so, and sometimes you have to know a little bit about the process. One example somebody, pointed out to me was a size of a sweater. There was XXXL, and, so when they happen to know that we only sell small, medium, larges, and extra larges kind of thing. So the double X was wrong. And so you just work line by line and do this, and everybody's got a pen, and they're marking things, and most rows only take a few seconds, right? You run through there, and at the end, usually what you have is you have this spreadsheet with a lot of red on it, okay? And so now you count stuff, right? And the first thing you do is you add a column. And working row by row is kind of like, is there any red? If there's no red, then we'll count the data as perfect. If there's any red, we'll count it as not perfect, right? And sometimes there's 2 reds in a row, fine, right? Still imperfect. And then you just count up the number of non-reds, right? And that's your data quality score, right? And so so people get a number between 0 and 100. that is the number of times that bad data did not impact their work, right? And this is really important. Data quality and the immediate impact of the work are bundled in one statistics, okay? Mm-hmm. And so again, I mean, you get a number between 0 and 100, and obviously the higher the number, the better.
And you were also saying that we tend to underestimate how bad the data is.
Yeah, if you ask anybody, like, how good's your data, most people say pretty good, right? And then if you ask them how good it needs to be, I mean, almost everybody says, well, high 90s, right? And so over the years, I've accumulated, that's close to 200 of these things that have been done in public settings, right? Where we can kind of share the results, and only 3%, right, are meeting the standards that people set for themselves of high 90s, and so obviously then 97% aren't. But interestingly, data quality measured this way, I mean, again, it's between 0 and 100, and the average is in the 50s. And again, I mean, so by the way, I mean, this is a simple measurement. We're not looking at everything. We're only looking at the most important data. We're only looking at the most recent stuff, and we're getting data quality statistics in the 50s. Okay, and so we set out to answer the question. Well, is it impacting your work? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's impacting your work.
But Tom, before I do have one question for you, but I do want to mention to everybody here that if they want to listen and really see more about the Friday afternoon measurement, I recommend everybody to check out this YouTube video where you can just go on YouTube, Google Tom Redman. You'll have plenty of videos to choose from, but this is the one that I recommend starting with, and definitely subscribe to his channel and you'll learn a lot more about data quality.
It's called the Friday afternoon measurement because I believe that we can see it because of that ribbon.
Yes, thank you so much for that. But Tom, I wanted to ask, when people do estimate because they're, I don't know, maybe they're optimistic and they're saying, yes, we have pretty good data quality. Is it really because, somebody has done that work in whatever their ETL processes, and actually the data that they get to see in reports in their CRM, it's somewhat more clean, but it's not sustainable because somebody needs to do that every time and it's not corrected at the source, it's not identified in the root cause? Or is it because they are too optimistic and their thoughts do truly not reflect reality?
Well, look, I think that everybody's different, and so 100 people, there's 127 sort of contributing factors, kind of thing. But I think most of us like to think we do a good job, right? And so it's hard to admit you have a quality problem. Mm-hmm. It's hard to admit you have a quality problem. I mean, and exacerbating that. People may have heard of the Lake Wobegon effect, right? Every child is above average kind of thing, right? I mean, most people think our data is better than average, kind of thing. And so, I mean, I probably can go a little deeper than that, but it'll be psychobabble, right? The fact of the matter is, one of the things that, people tell me a lot is, well, our data is good because we just, installed this Turbo XL technology and so on. And what do I think of that? And my answer is always, well, I don't know whether your data is good or bad, right? Go look, right? Mm-hmm. The beauty of the Friday afternoon measurement is we don't have to have an abstract discussion in an hour or 90 minutes or whatever it is. You can find out for yourself, and so is that responsive to your question?
Yes, thank you. And I think also part of the message should be that the fact that one does have those technologies in place, it doesn't mean that they have better data quality than others.
I mean, that's a really important point, George, and And a lot of people sort of, data and technology are two different kinds of assets. And they really, really need to be managed very, very differently. So I mean, a lot of times it's kind of, we had bad data, we got a new can, bright, shiny new can, we moved the old bad data into a shiny new can, the can shiny, but the data is still pretty darn bad.
Absolutely.
Kind of thing. So.
And I love this quote from Pedro as well that says that everyone overestimates how good things are, but where there's data smoke, there's business fire.
Oh, wow. Love it.
Yeah.
No, go ahead if you want to say something about the comments.
Well, there's a lot of comments that are coming from Pedro. Pedro, thanks for sending these. Really, to him, Tom was one of his earliest data heroes, and to mine as well. Since I've started working in this field, you really have been one person that I've following. So I'm really honored that you've joined us today. And Pedro here is saying that he may be the data dog by day, but for me, he is like the Chuck Norris of data by night.
Okay, I'll have to get a black cape, but thank you very much for that, Pedro.
And that's because when you enter the room, data cleans itself.
Yeah, right. If only that were the case.
And we have Scott here as well. That, hey, yes, listening to the czar, I assume, right? Definitely. And Susan, thanks for joining in as well. I do like that business smoke data fire piece as well. We're going to have to reuse that one, Pedro.
Yep.
Right. So you were saying that only 3% of the organizations has data quality that meets basic standards, and there is a huge cost for that. Can you speak to that? I know you have the rule of 10, which I again find very concrete and very tangible. If you can go more into detail to that, that would be great.
Yeah, right. I mean, this is really important, and this is sort of like part of the way we ground our business case in things that people are doing every day. But look, if you're just doing your job and you suspect that there's errors in the data you need to do your job, well, what do? Well, you check it, right? And when you find errors, you correct those errors, kind of thing. And so one of my favorite examples is the salesperson who is following up on leads provided by marketing. And, so marketing sends over some contact details and there you are in sales and you look at them and some of them are obviously wrong. And so you have to fix them, right? And this work of looking for errors and fixing errors, I gave the name the Hidden Data Factory after Philip Crosby used the term hidden factory for something akin in a real factory, right? And so the rule of 10 aims at expressing what's the cost of the hidden factory, right? And there's not a lot to it. But basically, it says that if it costs a bone, a bone to me is a generic unit of currency. It could be a U.S. dollar or a loonie or a euro or whatever. If it costs a bone to do a unit of work when the data is perfect, then it costs 10 bones when the data is not. And I mean, intuitively that kind of makes sense, right? I mean, it's the rule of thumb. It's not a rule, right? So, it may vary for different kinds of errors and so forth. But it really shows then how the cost of bad data gets so high so fast. So if you're at 50%, right, your DQ score is at 50%, then half the time you're fixing up the data, and you're spending way more time fixing up the data than you are doing your job. Okay, and so like people are trying to build a business case, getting started with what are the actual data quality stats, right? And then using this multiplier helps you put a cost on things that people can trust.
And you've mentioned this in one of your Harvard Business Review articles that I have up on the screen. Bad data is really costing quite a lot. Just the US economy alone, it's costing $3 trillion per year. And that's just in the US. I mean, I can't even imagine the whole world. And this is a staggering amount. And I don't think that people do realize how much $3 trillion can purchase. I mean, I was looking for some comparisons, but really for on average, a one-bedroom apartment apparently in San Francisco is about $1 million. And there's about 1 million people living in the city, which means that one could actually buy with just $1 trillion, everybody that one-bedroom apartment living in the city. That's a crazy amount of money. If I was converting that to seconds, again, to try and give it some perspective, really 1 billion, which is 1,000 less than 1 trillion, 1 billion seconds takes us back to like somewhat the late 1980s, I think 1988. If we actually go back 1 trillion, we go back 30,000 years ago. That's how big the difference is. So $3 trillion, that's a lot of money.
I mean, it is staggering. The $3 trillion is an IBM number. And when it first, when IBM first came out with it, people were kind of skeptical that could actually be right. And so over the years, I've tried to assemble a bunch of sort of facts that are either confirmatory or deny. And if you sort of start with that only 3% meet basic standards, and then the rule of 10, and then you look at the fraction of time knowledge workers spend correcting data, it's 50 sort of percent, and for data scientists it's as much as 80% kind of thing. An important statistic for me is a survey that the folks at Harvard Business Analytics Services conducted on what fraction of managers trust data, right? And they came up with 16%, and I was really flabbergasted by that number for a while. So it's like, how are you going to do anything if only 16% of managers trust the data? And then I remembered that only 3% of it's trustable, right? And so, but as we began to assemble it like an overall picture, right, of things that are going on at the individual levels, of people doing work and their waste of time, and at the management level, and how this adds up across the company, and gets worse when we try to work together. The $3 trillion doesn't seem out of line, and there's sort of a family of things that fit together, and it really bears noting that, like today, right? I mean, our economy and our healthcare system, it is just stifled by this pandemic, right? And we just do not have the good, trusted data we need to manage the pandemic. I mean, in this country, we still don't know how many people. We have no idea how many people have actually died from it, or how many people have had it, and of course, it's not just public health, but companies are trying to recover, and this enormous cost burden of bad data is just, it is such a drag on moving forward.
And also, I think it starts with the fact that there's a lack of common standards on how things should be collected, and when they're reporting certain things, how they're collecting certain things on the number of patients and the number of people that were sent home. Different hospitals might have different requirements, different standards, different even tests that they're using to test for COVID-19, which might yield different results. So it's not really a one-to-one comparison. And then it's hard when you put all of this and try to aggregate all of this data into the one place to provide those numbers to the public. You can't trust it very much.
and to make decisions based or informed decisions based on that data. I loved an example that you mentioned on your website, dataqualitysolutions.com. So dataqualitysolutions.com, you mentioned about, just think of an epidemiologist who needs to make a decision to tell people, okay, it's safe for you to start school and start going to work. But because he doesn't have trustworthy data of good data quality, he doesn't know if his decision is the right decision, and it might impact the lives of many, many people.
Right. I mean, it's such a good point, Deanna. I mean, bad data, it is an equal opportunity peril. And we don't think about it a lot in our personal lives, but right, the question of, can my kid go back to school? Early in the pandemic, and when are we going to have toilet paper? You kind of thing. I mean, those problems just go on, and then, like the epidemiologist, you take it into the workplace, and almost, I mean, surely there's somebody who doesn't have a data quality problem. Something, like there are no complete blankets in the world, but man, it's just impacting everybody.
Yeah, in all the wrong ways, unfortunately, right? It definitely has a toll, and I think, like you said, now more than ever, data quality needs to surface its importance, and companies and organizations and governments really need to just get behind this and try and invest and provide it more importance.
Yeah, right. I mean, look, the one thing it does provide in a positive way is opportunity. It provides opportunity, and so if you're working now, and you take the point of view that that part of your job is to also improve your work, then taking a look at data quality is a great way to do that. And if you're a manager and you don't feel comfortable that you have the data you need to make the important decisions, then there's a great opportunity to look at data quality. And by the way, there are some really deep data quality problems, but with things like FAM, we uncover scads of easy ones, and so we haven't mentioned it yet, but there's enormous opportunity for people with data in their titles. I mean, data managers, right? It is call attention to the problem. Work with your colleagues and across the company, make 20 FAMs or something, find out who's where, right? Find out what's most important, and teach people how to make the root causes of these problems go away. I mean, first of all, the work is very satisfying. Yeah. It's far more satisfying than cleaning up junk. And it really lays a foundation for taking your organization way, way further.
I do want to share this personal story. When I was a kid, I used to love cleaning out the garbage and sweeping the driveway and things like that, which I think some way around the road, it sort of translated into doing that with data as well. So there might be a correlation there. But I wanted to also ask you, what do you think? Should data quality be everybody's responsibility? Should, everybody has a little bit of piece of it, you get affected by it either as a citizen or an employee, or should it be centralized? Should it be dedicated teams, a mix of all? What's your view on this?
Well, I mean, this is what we tease out in getting in front, who does what. But the fact of the matter is everybody is a customer and a creator. And so those are both hard jobs. I mean, they're easy to say, but articulating what you need and communicating it properly is a hard job. And figuring out where what you're doing is not meeting somebody else's needs and improving, it is a hard job. So it is really important that everybody has those responsibilities. Okay. Now, I mean, if you just say that inside a big company, well, everybody's responsible for data quality. How are things actually gonna get going? And so there's two other groups that are so important. Well, the first is leadership, right? The first is leadership that articulates that, hey, we're going to take this on. And leadership can be at any level. I mean, leadership can be on a small work team level, or it can be on a department level. And leadership that says, and we're going to go find out. We're going to go find out whether our data is good or bad. And if it's not good, then we're going to make it better, kind of thing. And so that's that's a second really important group. And then I call them the bureaucracy, but that's a little unfair because there's a bunch of tools and you have to make measurement and people have to get trained up, and you ought to be using one improvement methodology, right? And occasionally you run into problems where you have tech issues and there's going to be fights and battles and so forth. So you do need a team, right? And I kind of like to think of them as small but mighty, kind of thing. And
I like that.
but I guess to me, like the central thinking is around individuals as creators and customers, and getting people. By the way, the best thing about it is those are fun roles. Okay, you step up.
I think so.
Yeah, and it works hard, right? And so this quality stuff, when you see it as an opportunity, it's so much fun. And so that's the way I like to think about it. At scale, there's all these three things have to happen.
That satisfaction, like you said, I think that satisfaction on getting that data quality better, improving it, and seeing the results, the outcomes that are based on that data, to me at least, that's a great satisfaction, right? That's at the end of the workday, you feel good about yourself.
Yeah. Let me just, I have a story about that, but the first time it really came home to me, I was advising a company on its data program and sort of teaching them and I spent a little bit of time in the muck and the mire, but maybe not enough. But anyway, there was a big party for a celebration afterwards, and the company had saved itself hundreds of millions of dollars and so forth. And I sort of mingled and I asked people how they felt about it, and one woman looked me in the eye and said, "Tom, I've been at this company 20 years. This was the best experience of my life. I never felt like I had any control on anything, right? And now going through these improvement projects, I got to lead them. I got to pull people together, right? And she said, and I'll never change back, kind of thing. And for me, this business about human empowerment, right? we don't talk about that too much in data, but to me, that is the best data quality. It is empowering people to make their work lives and their personal lives better.
Absolutely. And I think it's all about that human factor that you mentioned, right? If you don't have that, you always need to take that under consideration. We can't just rely on the tools. And the tools rely on humans too, for the most part.
Right.
So unfortunately, Tom, we are coming to an end here. I think there's so much more things that we can talk about with you. And I know you're so passionate about this. And I recommend everybody to follow you, to read your books, to read your articles, to take your courses. You're definitely the expert in the field. And I'm sure you can also help organizations, and you do help organizations. So if you're working for an organization that needs help with their data quality, please check out Tom Redman and the
website dataqualitysolutions.com.
Thank you, Diana.
Well.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for having me.
And we had some amazing comments. We did read all of them, and we're sorry that we weren't able to put them on the screen, but thank you everyone for joining and for being here, for supporting these ideas, these concepts, and also the Good Data Morning Show.
Yes, thank you. And we'll close with Susan's comment saying that no more dirty data. We hope that will be the case. And, even if that means we're going to be left without jobs, we would be happy if that's really the outcome. So thank you again, Tom. And we look forward to be in touch with you and keep learning from you. And please keep posting great content.
Yep, and invite me back sometime.
Absolutely.
It would be our pleasure to do so.
It was lovely to have you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tom. Have a good one.